December 30th, 2025. The city lay under a cold, steady rain that seemed to soak right into the bones of the last days of the year. Ethan Caldwell sat alone in his private office on the 47th floor of Pinnacle Medical Center. Pale blue light from 3 computer screens washed across his face, a face the newspapers like to call calm as a surgeon's scalpel. He had just finished an 11-hour operation, removing a vicious brain tumor from a 42-year-old patient. The surgery went perfectly, as always. But tonight Ethan felt no victory. Truth is, he hadn't felt real victory in anything since the day Lily turned 4. 12 years earlier, Ethan Caldwell was not yet the renowned neurosurgeon. He was a 28-year-old resident, full of fire, working in the city's most run-down public hospital. His father, a hard-working construction engineer, had died in a site accident when Ethan was 15. After that, his mother sank into a deep depression and the bottle. Ethan grew up in a small house that always smelled of stale cigarettes and cheap whiskey, learning early to stay quiet so as not to upset her more. That same quiet forged him into a man who controlled everything: the heartbeat of a patient under his knife, the rhythm of his own breathing. He met Vanessa at a medical conference. She was a young interior designer, bright as a summer morning, laughing loud, talking louder. For the first time, Ethan felt that life might be more than just survival. They married after 8 months of courtship. Lily arrived 2 years later, a little girl with her mother's big dark eyes but a smile that belonged entirely to Ethan, small, rare, and precious. Then came the accident. Lily was 4. Vanessa was driving her home from preschool when a runaway truck smashed into the driver's side. Vanessa suffered multiple fractures, a serious head injury, and months of unrelenting pain. Ethan was in the middle of an emergency operation. He couldn't leave the table. Vanessa woke up in agony. They gave her high-dose morphine. Ethan was the one who signed the first prescription, convinced it was the only way to spare her. He never imagined that single dose would open the door to addiction. After the crash, Vanessa changed. The laughter disappeared. She started taking more pain pills than prescribed. Ethan tried to help, but his work, 14-hour surgeries, sleepless nights on call, slowly pulled him away from home. In the end, Vanessa turned to Marcus Holt, charming, talkative, always carrying cash and sweet promises. They divorced when Lily was 6. The court gave custody to Vanessa because Ethan was too consumed by his career, too little time for family. Ethan didn't fight it. He thought it was best for Lily. At least she'd have her mother there every day. He was wrong. His phone buzzed once, short, sharp. Not a regular message. A video, no title, sent from a hidden number. Ethan opened it without thinking. 3 seconds of black screen. Then the weak glow of an old bedside lamp fell across the corner of a room. Lily, 9 years old. Both tiny wrists loosely bound with red cord. On her left forearm, just below the elbow, a perfect round burn, angry red, the edges already peeling. Cigarette burn. Ethan knew it instantly. He had seen hundreds like it in the pediatric trauma bay, cases of abused children. He always told himself, if this were my child, what would I do? Lily's voice came through, hoarse and fragile. Daddy, I don't want to be here anymore. He said if I cry for you again, he'll burn me one more time. The video cut off abruptly. No threat. No signature. Only white letters against black at the very end. Don't call the police. She'll tell them you abandoned your child. Like you've abandoned them for the past 4 years. Ethan sat frozen. Memories rushed in like floodwater. The first night Lily called him Daddy, the way her little fingers gripped his when he had to leave for call, Vanessa's disappointed eyes across the courtroom during the divorce. Now every memory felt like a fresh incision straight through his heart. He played the video again, frame by frame. Fixed angle, slightly tilted, obviously a hidden camera. Marcus wasn't impulsive. He'd planned this. He wanted Ethan to see. He wanted Ethan to hurt. And he wanted Ethan to understand that everything was in his hands. Ethan stood, grabbed his coat and car keys. Outside, the rain poured down in sheets. He told no one. Called no lawyer. Called no colleague. There was only one thought in his mind. If he moved too slowly, Lily would no longer be his Lily. She would become another victim, another chart in the system he had spent his life trying to save children from. Vanessa's apartment was in the Southeast District. Ethan parked 2 blocks away, pulled on a ball cap, and walked through the downpour. He didn't want security cameras to catch him. When he arrived, He stood under the awning across the street and looked up to the 14th floor. Lily's bedroom light was still on. The living room window was dark. He texted Vanessa, "I need to see Lily. Right now." 47 seconds later, "You have no rights. The court made that clear. You chose work over family." Her words cut like a fresh blade. Ethan didn't reply. He waited 10 more minutes, watching. Then he saw movement in the 14th floor hallway. Marcus Holt, tall, short hair, black hoodie. Ethan had looked up the man's record long ago. Gambling debts, arrests for disorderly conduct, always slipping through because of lack of evidence. And now he was living in Ethan's daughter's home. Ethan waited until Marcus stepped into the elevator going down. He used the old key, Vanessa had never asked for it back, to open the building's front door. Up the elevator to 14. The apartment door was not deadbolted. Marcus was too confident. Inside, the air was thick with old cigarette smoke and the sour smell of pain pills. Ethan went straight to Lily's bedroom. The door stood ajar. He pushed it gently. Lily lay curled on the bed, eyes wide open. When she saw her father, she didn't cry. She only whispered, "Daddy came. I knew Daddy would come." Ethan knelt, examined the burn, 2nd degree, already threatening infection. He lifted her carefully. Lily wrapped her arms around his neck, but still no tears. The silence of his little girl hurt him more than any scream could. As he turned toward the door, he heard keys turning in the front lock. Marcus was back sooner than expected. Ethan didn't run. He moved quickly into the bathroom, locked the door, set Lily on the counter. He turned on the cold faucet to mask sound. Then he texted his closest colleague, "Need a pediatric bed, emergency, no name attached. On my way." Outside, heavy knocking on the bathroom door. Marcus's voice, low, almost amused, "Ethan, I know you're in there. Bring the girl out. Let's talk like adults." Ethan didn't answer. He found Vanessa's opioid bottle in the medicine cabinet, crushed 2 pills, mixed them into water, and gave it to Lily for the pain. She drank without question. Her eyes watched him, the eyes of a child who had already learned how to survive. The pounding grew harder. "I've got video. I've got proof you abandoned her for 4 years. You think you're the hero here." Ethan looked into the mirror. His face was still calm. But inside, something had broken. Not rage, but a cold, terrible clarity. He whispered into Lily's ear, "Do you trust Daddy?" Lily nodded. Ethan carried her out of the bathroom. Marcus stood blocking the doorway, phone already recording. Perfect. The more evidence, the better. Ethan walked past as if Marcus were invisible. As he drew level, he spoke so softly only the 2 of them could hear. "You're going to wish you never picked up that phone." Marcus smirked. But the smirk faded when he looked into Ethan's eyes, the eyes of a man who had opened hundreds of skulls, who had stood so close to death that it had become familiar. Ethan carried Lily down the stairwell. The rain kept falling. Only when he closed the car door did Lily finally break, sobbing, the first real crying since he'd arrived. He drove toward the hospital. All the way he repeated, like a vow, "Daddy won't let this happen again. Never again." But in the back of his mind, another plan was already taking shape. Not with fists. Not with knives. With the one thing he understood better than anything in the world: data. Records. Diagnoses. And the truth. Adjusted just enough to destroy a man without leaving a trace. He glanced at Lily in the rearview mirror. She had fallen asleep, her small hand still clutching his coat. Ethan tightened his grip on the wheel. No blood, he told himself. But there will be a death. Ethan drove through the slick streets, headlights slicing across shimmering puddles beneath the soft gold of the street lamps. The rain never let up, as though the whole city were trying, and failing, to wash away some old, stubborn wound. Lily lay curled on the back seat, wrapped in the thin blanket Ethan had grabbed from the trunk. Her breathing was steady now, but every time the car jolted over a pothole, her small hand tightened on the edge of his coat. He didn't dare look in the rearview mirror for too long. He was afraid that if he did, he'd see his own hands trembling, see the red-rimmed eyes of a father who had let too many years slip away. Pinnacle Medical Center rose ahead of him, a tall glass tower blazing bright against the black night, like a great ship anchored in the dark. Ethan pulled into the quiet side entrance for staff emergencies, the one with the fewest cameras, the one doctors used when they needed to bring in someone special without anyone knowing. He lifted Lily carefully, her knees draped over his shoulder, her small body so light it broke his heart all over again. The night shift clerk recognized him instantly. Dr. Caldwell, the neurosurgeon who almost never set foot in pediatrics except for urgent cases. But tonight he wasn't wearing his white coat. He was soaked through, black jacket dripping, hair plastered to his forehead, carrying the mingled smells of rain and the stale cigarette smoke that still clung to him from Vanessa's apartment. Dr. Caldwell? The child. No name. Ethan cut in, voice low and sharp as a fresh scalpel. I'm taking full responsibility. Private room. Burn assessment. X-ray if needed. Prophylactic antibiotics. No questions. No public chart. The nurse nodded, not daring to ask more. Everyone knew Dr. Caldwell wasn't the kind of man who tolerated unnecessary questions. In this place, his authority didn't come only from his title. It came from the silence around him, the kind of silence everyone understood as an order. In the private treatment room, harsh white light poured over Lily's tiny frame. Ethan examined the burn himself, 2nd degree, surrounding skin swollen and red, early signs of infection creeping outward. He cleaned it with antiseptic, applied antibiotic cream, dressed it with thin nonstick gauze. Every movement was precise, practiced, automatic, yet this time it wasn't for a nameless patient. This was his daughter. Each time his fingers touched her skin, old memories flooded back. The evenings he came home late, Lily running to the door to hug his legs, asking, "Who did Daddy save today?" and him only ruffling her hair before disappearing into his study. He had saved hundreds of lives, but he had never saved his own family. Halfway through, Lily stirred, eyes wide open, watching him work. She didn't cry. She only asked, in the smallest, hoarsest voice, the voice of a child who had cried too much already, "Daddy, does Mommy know I'm gone? She'll be so sad." Ethan paused for one heartbeat, then went on bandaging. He had to swallow hard before he could answer. "Mommy's resting right now. Daddy's going to take care of you. From now on, you're going to stay with me." It was the first lie he had ever told his daughter since she learned to talk. And he knew it wouldn't be the last. The truth was too tangled, too painful for a 9-year-old still trying to understand why the grown-up world was full of cigarette burns and broken promises. When the emergency care was finished, Ethan sat beside the bed, watching Lily slip into a light, drugged sleep. He pulled out his phone. 7 missed calls from Vanessa. No voicemails. Just one final text, sent 10 minutes earlier. "What have you done, Ethan? Marcus is losing his mind. Bring Lily back right now, or I'll call the police and tell them everything. You know you don't have any proof to win in court." Ethan read the words over and over. Tell them everything. He knew exactly what she meant. She would tell them he was the absent father, the one who always put work first, the one who had abandoned his daughter for 4 long years. The court would believe her, at least at first. And Marcus. Marcus would have videos. Videos Ethan hadn't seen all of yet, but could easily imagine. Lily crying, Lily tied up, Lily threatened, and maybe even moments when Vanessa stood by and did nothing. He typed back, short and cold. Lily is receiving specialized medical care. 2nd degree burn, malnutrition, signs of post-traumatic stress. I'm not returning her to that place. If you want to see her, come to the hospital tomorrow morning. The reply came almost instantly. You have no right to decide. The court already ruled. You want a war? I'll show you what war looks like. Marcus says he has everything he needs. Ethan turned the phone off. He didn't want to read anymore. He needed time to think, space to put the broken pieces back together in his mind. 30 minutes later, while he sat waiting outside the room, the phone buzzed again. Not Vanessa. An unknown number. He answered without speaking. Marcus's voice came through, calm in a way that was almost frightening, like a man sitting in a dark living room, slowly enjoying a cigarette. "Dr. Caldwell, you think you're pretty clever, don't you? Sweeping in on a rainy night like some movie hero. Very touching. But you forgot one thing. I'm always one step ahead." Ethan stayed silent, letting Marcus talk. "I'm not mad," Marcus went on, his tone light, almost conversational, like he was discussing the weather. "Actually, I find it interesting. You saved her tonight, but you can't save her forever. I've got cameras everywhere, not just in the house. I've got recordings of Vanessa saying you used to hit her during arguments. Of course it's fake, but who's going to dig deep enough to prove it? And I've got video of Lily crying for you while she was being disciplined. Want me to send it all to the judge? Or maybe to the hospital board? A famous neurosurgeon tied to child abuse, even indirectly, and your reputation is finished. You'll lose everything. Your job, your name, and in the end, the girl. Ethan's grip on the phone turned his knuckles white. What do you want? Simple, Marcus said. Bring her back before 8 tomorrow morning. I'll forgive you. Vanessa will forgive you. We can pretend nothing happened. I'm not the bad guy here, doctor. I just want things back where they belong. Ethan gave a dry, hollow laugh that echoed down the empty hallway. You think I'd believe you? You don't have to believe me, Marcus replied, voice dropping suddenly low. You just have to be afraid. Because if you don't bring her back by morning, I'm going to post a video online. Not the one of Lily with the burn. The one of you, Dr. Ethan Caldwell, driving an unidentified child into the hospital at midnight. No paperwork. No admission. People will ask questions. A lot of questions. And in this day and age, one good suspicion is enough to ruin a lifetime. The call ended abruptly. No goodbye. No final threat. Just a long, lingering dial tone like a warning. Ethan sat motionless in the dark corridor. He remembered the nights on call, the times he sat alone in the operating room after a failed case, wondering if he still had any right to save other people's lives when he couldn't save his own family. Now that question had teeth, and this time, he could no longer stand outside it. He stood, walked back to Lily's room. She was still sleeping. He sat in the chair beside her bed, watching her small face, the long lashes that fluttered with each soft breath. In that moment, Ethan was no longer the top neurosurgeon in the city. He was only a father who had let his daughter suffer far too long, and who was now prepared to do whatever it took to keep her safe. He opened his personal laptop, logged into the integrated medical record system, the special access granted only to a handful of senior physicians. He searched for Marcus James Holt. Name, Marcus James Holt. Date of birth, March 15, 1987. Medical history, incidental finding of benign brain tumor, grade 1 meningioma, in 2022, 1.2 centimeters, asymptomatic, routine surveillance. Ethan stared at the line. A small tumor. Harmless. But what if someone adjusted it just a little? What if the next MRI report made it look as though the tumor had invaded, metastasized, turned into a grade 4 glioblastoma? A diagnosis like that could shatter a man like Marcus, not with physical pain, but with pure, suffocating terror. He closed the laptop. His heart was racing. Not from fear. From how perfect the idea felt. How clean. No blood. No fingerprints. But before he did anything, he needed to protect Lily. He needed time. And he needed a plan that could never be traced. Ethan stepped into the hallway and called his personal attorney, the one he hadn't needed since the divorce. His voice was perfectly steady when he spoke. I need to meet you first thing tomorrow morning. I'm filing an emergency petition for sole custody, and I need you to prepare documentation proving severe medical neglect by the mother. I have the medical evidence. He hung up. Back in the room, he looked at Lily one more time. She stirred in her sleep and murmured a single word. Daddy. Ethan took his daughter's hand. For the first time in years, he no longer felt like a man who had given up. But deep inside, he knew the real battle was only beginning. And this time, he would not lose, no matter what it cost his conscience. The morning of December 31st, 2025, the city woke beneath a thick blanket of fog left behind by the night's long rain. Ethan Caldwell stood at the window of the pediatric ward, a cup of cold black coffee forgotten in his hand, staring down at the slow-moving river of headlights far below. He hadn't closed his eyes for even a minute. Every time he tried, he saw the raw red circle on Lily's arm, heard Marcus's voice sliding through the phone like cold oil. You just have to be afraid. Lily still slept, breathing soft and even beneath the crisp white hospital sheet. The fresh dressing on her arm was clean. The antibiotics were already doing their quiet work. But Ethan knew the real wound wasn't on her skin. It lived much deeper, in the night she had lain alone in the dark, listening to Marcus's loud laughter from the living room, hearing her mother whisper excuses for him. The phone vibrated. His lawyer, Richard Harlan, a silver-haired man in his early 60s whose voice always moved slow and deliberate, as though every word had been weighed twice. Ethan, I've gone over the medical report you sent. Second-degree burn, mild malnutrition, clear signs of post-traumatic stress. This is strong grounds for an emergency temporary custody order. But you need to be ready for Vanessa's reaction. She won't just sit quietly. I know, Ethan said, his tone strangely calm. I need everything prepared. I want an emergency hearing today if it's possible. That's tough. Last day of the year, courts close early. But I've got connections. I'll push for late afternoon or first thing tomorrow morning. Now, about Marcus Holt, do you have anything solid on him? If we're relying only on Lily's statements, they might argue a traumatized child isn't reliable. Ethan was silent for a long moment. He thought of the video Lily had sent him, the one piece of direct evidence that could end everything. But if he used it, Marcus would know he'd received it, and the man would unleash whatever else he was holding. I'll handle that part, Ethan said finally. Just make sure Lily stays with me for at least a few weeks. He ended the call and turned back to the bed. Lily was awake now, big dark eyes fixed on him. Daddy, are we going home to your house today? Ethan sat on the edge of the mattress, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Not yet, sweetheart. But you'll stay here with me a few more days. I'm not going anywhere. Lily nodded, but the trust in her eyes was shadowed. Not doubt in him, but doubt in the whole wide world. Ethan saw it clearly. She wasn't the carefree little girl from years ago anymore. At 9, she had already learned to read grown-ups' faces, to sense when words didn't match what was really happening. Around noon, Vanessa appeared. She walked down the hospital corridor looking worn thin, hair tangled, eyes ringed with dark circles, old coat hanging loose on a frame. Ethan met her in the waiting area, not letting her near Lily's room yet. Ethan, she began, voice trembling. Give her back to me. Marcus says you're trying to take her away. Ethan looked straight into the eyes that once used to light up his days. Now they held only exhaustion and desperation. She has a cigarette burn on her arm, Vanessa. She was hungry. She was tied up. Did you know? Vanessa dropped her gaze, fingers twisting the strap of her purse. I didn't know. I get headaches all the time. I take pills to sleep. Marcus said it was just discipline. I didn't think it was that bad. A wave of anger rose in Ethan's chest, but he forced it down. Anger wouldn't help now. This isn't discipline. It's abuse. And you didn't stop it. Vanessa lifted her head, tears spilling freely. You abandoned us too. You were always at the hospital, always operating, always saving somebody else. What about us? Did you ever think about us? Her words landed like a fresh scalpel. Ethan didn't deny it. He had been wrong. He had buried himself in work to escape the old wounds of a mother lost to alcohol, a father gone too soon, the terror of anything he couldn't control. Maybe I did fail, he said slowly, but I'm going to make it right now. Lily stays with me. You can see her anytime, but not in that house with him. Vanessa shook her head. Marcus won't let this go. He has things. Videos. Old messages between us. He says if you don't bring her back, he'll make everything public. Ethan wasn't surprised. He'd expected it. Go home, Vanessa. Rest. And think about who really hurt our daughter. She turned away, shoulders shaking. Ethan watched until she disappeared around the corner. He knew Vanessa wasn't evil. She was broken, by pain, by pills, by weakness. But that didn't change the fact she had let Lily suffer far too long. Late afternoon, as the sun dropped behind the tall buildings, Ethan returned to Lily's room. She was sitting up in bed, drawing with a borrowed pencil on hospital paper. Ethan sat beside her and looked at the picture. A small house, a tall man standing outside holding what looked like a burning stick, and a tiny girl huddled in the corner, arms wrapped around her knees. His heart squeezed tight. What's this, sweetheart? Lily looked up, voice small but clear. This is the old house. The tall man is Uncle Marcus. And me. I always sit in the corner waiting for you. Ethan couldn't speak. He simply pulled his daughter into his arms. For the first time in years, he felt the warmth of a child against him, a warmth he thought he'd lost forever. When Lily drifted back to sleep, Ethan opened his laptop. He returned to Marcus Holt's medical record. This time he didn't just read. He began to make notes. Tiny changes. A misplaced date here. An updated MRI result there. A blood test report showing skyrocketing tumor markers. He knew he was crossing a line. A doctor who had spent his life saving people was now preparing to destroy one, not with a blade, but with pure, suffocating fear. He paused, looked out the window. The city below was getting ready for New Year's Eve. Fireworks would light the sky soon. People would embrace and cheer. And he was preparing for a war no one else would ever know about. Ethan whispered to the empty room, "No blood. Just the truth, adjusted a little." He saved the first small change. Just enough so that when Marcus went in for his next checkup, the doctor would say, "We see something concerning. We need more tests." Ethan closed the laptop. His pulse raced, not with regret, but with resolve. Somewhere in the city, Marcus Holt sat in a darkened living room, replaying the video of Lily crying. He smirked to himself. He still believed he held all the cards. He had no idea that, from this night forward, everything had already begun to shift. January 2nd, 2026. The city had slipped back into its everyday rhythm after the New Year's holiday, but for Ethan Caldwell time seemed to be running in reverse. He sat alone in his locked office on the 47th floor of Pinnacle Medical Center. Curtains drawn tight. The only light came from the 3 glowing screens. The air was so cold his breath made thin white clouds. On the main monitor was Marcus Holt's patient file. A digital portrait Ethan was slowly, meticulously repainting, stroke by careful stroke, like a phantom surgery no one would ever witness. He had spent 2 sleepless nights building the plan. Not rash, not hurried. Observation comes first in every successful operation. Locate the tumor, map the margins between healthy and diseased tissue, predict the path of invasion. With Marcus, he was doing exactly the same thing, only not on the operating table. On data. And data doesn't bleed, but it can kill a man with nothing more than fear. The very first alteration was tiny, almost invisible. He changed Marcus's routine follow-up schedule from surveillance every 6 months to urgent follow-up required within 72 hours due to suspected interval growth. The system automatically sent the notification. Routine email, routine text. Nothing alarming on the surface. But Ethan knew a man like Marcus, someone who always believed he controlled every room he walked into, would feel even the smallest seed of doubt take root and begin to grow into nightmare. That morning Marcus had gone to an outpatient neurology clinic at a small private hospital on the edge of town, not Pinnacle, where he was afraid of running into Ethan. Ethan watched the system logs. Arrival at 9:47, departure at 11:12. On the security camera footage, accessed through his elevated privileges, Marcus's face still looked composed, but Ethan noticed the tell, fingers gripping the strap of his backpack just a little too hard. In the updated chart the examining doctor had noted, mild increase in lesion size compared with prior study, 1.2 centimeters to 1.4 centimeters, recommend repeat MRI within 48 hours. Real data. 1 digit changed. Enough to raise an eyebrow. Not enough to panic. Yet. Ethan waited, patient as a surgeon waiting for a patient to emerge from anesthesia. Late afternoon the phone buzzed. Vanessa. Her voice shook, half whisper, half sob. Ethan. Marcus just came home. He's scared. The doctor said the tumor might be bigger. He doesn't believe it, but he made me call you, asked if you had anything to do with this. He said, if you're behind it, he'll make you regret it. Ethan kept his tone flat, almost indifferent. I don't know what you're talking about. If the doctor wants more tests, he should get them. Have you thought any more about signing temporary guardianship papers for Lily? Silence stretched long on the line. Heavy breathing. Then, I don't know anymore. Marcus said if I sign, he'll leave me. He threatened to tell everything, about all the nights you never came home, about how you wanted the divorce long before it happened. He says you'll lose Lily forever. Ethan let the silence grow heavier still, letting Vanessa feel her own fear swell. Then he spoke, low and precise. Vanessa, you know who burned Lily. You know who she cried for. If you choose him over your daughter, don't blame anyone else. He ended the call. There was no tremor in his heart. Only the cold necessity he knew so well, the same cold that came when he clipped a cerebral artery to stop a hemorrhage, knowing full well it was the very vessel keeping the patient alive. That night he went deeper. He pulled up Marcus's old MRI archive, copied a clean slice of the benign lesion, then used specialized editing software to stretch the borders, add faint shadowy areas, classic signs of surrounding tissue invasion, hallmarks of grade 4 glioblastoma multiforme. He altered the file timestamp, labeled it Urgent Supplemental Report, and uploaded it to the system. No one cross-checked immediately. Who would ever suspect a renowned neurosurgeon of tampering with records? On the morning of January 3rd, Marcus received the urgent callback. Ethan watched the logs. Physician called at 8:15, urgent tone. Marcus arrived at 10:30. This time composure was gone. Security footage showed him walking fast, shoulders hunched, eyes darting as though expecting to be followed. Ethan could picture the scene in the exam room. Marcus sitting rigid in the leather chair, hands white-knuckled on the armrests, the doctor sliding the screen closer, pointing to the shadowy new margins. We are concerned this may be a grade 4 glioblastoma. The lesion appears to have infiltrated aggressively. Prognosis is guarded. We need an urgent biopsy and treatment planning immediately. Marcus said almost nothing, just nodded mechanically and left. Late that evening, Ethan received a text from an unknown number. I know what you're doing. You think I'm stupid? You altered the records. I'll prove it. You'll lose everything. Reputation, job, the girl. Ethan read it, then deleted it. No reply. Marcus was guessing. Clever, but not clever enough to trace changes through a high-security system. Ethan had used a secondary account, wiped access logs, adjusted timestamps, techniques he'd learned in the operating room where seconds could mean life or death. On January 4th, Marcus returned to the clinic with his own lawyer, a nervous man in a cheap suit who kept glancing around. They demanded the full record, a second look at the images. The doctor complied. The new MRI still showed significant change. Marcus began to sweat. The lawyer took notes. Ethan knew there would never be physical proof pointing back to him. That night, Marcus screamed at Vanessa over the phone so loudly she had to hold the receiver away from her ear. She sent Ethan the recording later. She was starting to fear Marcus more than she feared losing her daughter. You bitch. I know that bastard's behind this. He's killing me slowly. If I die, I'm taking you and the kid with me. Vanessa sobbed. She texted Ethan. He's losing it. He hasn't slept. He says he'll kill himself before he lets the pain take him. Ethan, what have you done? Ethan didn't answer. He let Marcus sink deeper. On January 5th, Marcus went to the city's largest public hospital demanding an independent workup. The third doctor reached the same conclusion. Suspected high-grade glioma, late stage. Marcus was now fully paranoid. He sent Ethan dozens of texts an hour, threats, curses, then sudden begging, help me. I know you can. I'll give you Lily. Don't let me die like this. Ethan read them without feeling. He let the man dig his own grave deeper. In the pediatric room, Lily had begun drawing brighter pictures, but sometimes she watched Ethan with a strange, quiet look, as though she sensed her father was doing something that wasn't quite right. One evening, while he sat beside her bed, she asked softly, Daddy, is Uncle Marcus okay? Mommy said he's going to go away soon. Ethan swallowed hard. He stroked her hair. That's grown-up business, sweetheart. You just need to know Daddy will always keep you safe. Lily nodded, but the absolute trust in her eyes had cracked just a little. Ethan felt a sharp pain in his chest, not remorse exactly, but the sudden fear that one day his daughter would see her father was no longer the hero she believed in. On January 6th, Marcus made his final visit to the clinic. He was no longer the confident man who had smirked at Ethan in the apartment doorway. Eyes sunken, hands trembling, hair wild. The doctor delivered the official diagnosis: glioblastoma multiforme grade 4, estimated survival less than 12 months, possibly far less without aggressive treatment. They recommended biopsy, chemotherapy, radiation. Marcus refused. He said he needed time to think. Ethan knew what he was thinking about: how to leave. Quickly. Painlessly. An overdose of pills, a bottle of morphine, a jump from a high floor. He closed the laptop. Looked out the window. The city below went on about its business, carefree. The New Year's fireworks had long since faded, but inside Ethan a different storm was gathering force. He whispered to the empty room, just one more step, and the final step will be the one he takes himself. For the first time, a hairline crack appeared in the cold shell he had built. If Marcus died, would he truly have won? Or would he simply have become another version of Marcus, a manipulator, a killer who never needed a blade? Ethan clenched his fist. Too late to turn back. The game had begun, and only one could walk away. January 7th, 2026. The bitter cold of the first week of the new year pressed in around Ethan Caldwell like a tightening fist. He woke at 3:47 a.m. in the doctor's on-call room at Pinnacle, sweat soaking through his thin scrub shirt even though the thermostat was set low. It wasn't a nightmare that woke him. He hadn't dreamed at all. Just a deep, black nothing where the steady thump of his own heart sounded like a war drum that never stopped. He sat up, hands trembling slightly as he reached for his phone. The screen lit the dark. 14 unread messages from an unknown number, Marcus Holt's number. He opened them one by one. Each line felt like a slow, deliberate cut. Headache is killing me. Everything's going blurry. What did you do to me? I took the morphine. It's not helping. I'm dying. Help me. I'll disappear. I'll sign whatever you want for Lily. Just tell the truth. I know you're reading this. I know you're smiling. You win. But you won't sleep easy. I left something for you. In a letter. You'll regret this. The last message had come at 3:41 a.m. Just one sad face emoji and a single red exclamation point. Ethan sat motionless in the dark, breathing heavy. He wasn't smiling. He felt no triumph. Only an empty, spreading hollow in his chest. The same hollow he'd felt after perfect surgeries when he knew the patient would never truly be whole again. But this time he was the one holding the blade. And the blade wasn't steel. It was numbers, files, carefully rewritten sentences. Every time he clicked Save Changes, he had asked himself the same question. Am I saving my daughter, or am I becoming the same kind of monster he is? He glanced over at the small bed. Lily slept peacefully under the soft glow of the nightlight, one hand clutching the corner of the blanket as though afraid someone might steal it away. Ethan reached out and gently touched her forehead. No fever. The burn was healing, new pink skin already forming. But he knew the deepest wound wasn't on her arm. It lived in the memories of nights spent curled in the dark, waiting for a father she believed would come, never knowing that father was slowly losing pieces of himself. He stood and walked into the bright, cold hallway. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. He asked himself silently, do I still deserve to call myself a doctor? I've saved hundreds with these hands. Now I'm using the same knowledge to kill a man, indirectly, without blood. But death is still death. He opened his laptop, checked the system logs one last time. Marcus had received the biopsy results from a third hospital. Confirmed glioblastoma multiforme grade 4, early metastasis, estimated survival 6 to 9 months with maximal treatment, less than 3 months without. The doctor had prescribed high-dose morphine for the headaches. The headaches Marcus didn't actually have yet, but fear had made real. Ethan stared at the words until they blurred. He wondered, if I stop now, if I call him, tell him the truth, what happens? He lives. But he comes back. He takes Lily. He destroys everything I've tried to rebuild. The phone buzzed. Vanessa. Her voice cracked, thick with tears. Ethan, he just called me. He said he took the whole bottle. He said he doesn't want to hurt anymore. He said he left a letter for you. And a recording. If you don't come, he'll send everything to the police. Ethan felt the blood rush to his head. A recording. Marcus must have captured their last call, when Ethan had listened in silence while the man begged. Not ironclad legal proof, but enough to start an investigation. Enough to bring everything crashing down. Reputation, career, and most importantly, Lily. I'm on my way, Ethan said, voice eerily calm. But when he hung up and caught his reflection in the mirror, he barely recognized himself. The face was still composed, but the eyes, they were different now. Not the cold, steady eyes of a surgeon anymore. The eyes of a man caught between justice and crime. He drove through deserted streets, freezing rain tapping against the windshield. Questions spun endlessly in his head. Am I protecting my daughter or justifying revenge? If I save him now, I save Lily, but can I still save myself? Or have I gone too far to ever come back? Vanessa's building loomed out of the dark, old, tired, hallway lights flickering. Ethan parked far away, pulled on his ball cap, and climbed to the 14th floor. The door was unlocked. Marcus had left it open, like a final invitation, or maybe a final trap. Inside, the air was heavy with the smell of whiskey and sleeping pills. Marcus lay sprawled on the sofa, eyes open, pupils blown wide, breath shallow and ragged. An empty prescription bottle stood on the coffee table beside his phone. Vanessa sat in the corner, knees drawn up, crying without sound. Marcus saw Ethan and tried to smile. "You came. Good, good." Ethan knelt beside him, checked the pulse, weak, but still there. Not gone yet. In that instant, the war inside Ethan reached its peak. He could call 911. He could save him. But if he did, everything would collapse. If he didn't, the guilt would live in him forever. "You win," Marcus whispered, voice broken. "I deleted everything. Videos, recordings, all of it. Lily, she's yours. But you, can you live with this? You killed me, without spilling a drop of blood." Ethan didn't answer. He looked into Marcus's eyes, the eyes of a man who finally understood he was about to lose everything. Not fear of death. Fear that he had been wrong in ways that could never be undone. And in those eyes Ethan saw himself, a man who once swore to save lives, now choosing to let one end. Marcus tried one last crooked smile. "I left something. In the letter. You'll read it. And you'll see, we are more alike than you think." One final ragged breath. Then stillness. The heart stopped. Vanessa screamed and threw herself across Marcus's body. Ethan stood, stepped back. He hadn't touched him. Hadn't tried to save him. He had only watched, like a surgeon standing outside the OR, witnessing the moment a patient slips away. Except this time, he was the one who had guided the patient to that edge. The police arrived 20 minutes later. They documented the scene. Apparent suicide by overdose, no signs of struggle. No foreign fingerprints. No obvious evidence. Ethan told them Marcus had called him to talk about Lily, and that he'd arrived too late. Vanessa confirmed it. They believed him. After the police left, Vanessa turned to Ethan, eyes swollen and red. He left a letter. "For you." Ethan opened the envelope. The handwriting shook. "Dr. Caldwell, you're the smartest man I've ever met. You killed me without a knife. I respect that. I deleted everything. Videos, recordings, all of it. Lily is safe. But you know what? Before I die, I finally understand. The fear of death is worse than death itself. You gave me that lesson. Thank you. And tell Lily I'm sorry. Marcus." Ethan folded the letter. His hands no longer shook. But inside, a storm roared. "I saved Lily. But I lost myself. Am I still a father worthy of her? Or am I just a better, smarter version of him?" He turned and walked out into the rain. He drove back to the hospital in silence. When he stepped into Lily's room, she was awake, sitting up in bed, eyes wide. "Daddy, where did you go?" "I was scared." Ethan sat down and pulled her close, so close she gave a little squeak. "Daddy's here now. I'm not going anywhere again. Never." But after Lily drifted back to sleep, Ethan sat by the window, staring out at the city. He whispered to himself, "No blood on my hands. But I killed him. And now I have to live with it." For the first time in weeks, a single tear slid down his cheek. Not pure regret, but the knowledge that the crack in his soul had grown too wide to ever mend completely. It could only be covered by love for Lily, by the next surgeries, by the children he would save to try to balance the scales of what he had done. January 15th, 2026. The county courthouse downtown felt heavy that morning, the air thick with the kind of quiet tension that settles over rooms where futures are decided. Pale winter light filtered through the tall windows, softened by thin curtains, and fell in long stripes across the polished marble floor. Ethan Caldwell sat on the petitioner's side in a plain black suit, hands folded in his lap, palms dry despite the dozens of times he'd wiped them. Beside him sat Lily, wearing a simple white dress, hair neatly tied back. Her big dark eyes moved curiously around the room, a little afraid, a little fascinated. Every time someone raised their voice, her small fingers tightened around her father's hand. Today's hearing wasn't about Marcus. His death had already been ruled a suicide, no evidence of outside interference. Today was about Lily's future, Ethan's emergency petition to terminate Vanessa Reed's parental rights permanently on grounds of severe medical neglect and failure to protect the child from abuse. Richard Harlan, his silver-haired attorney, had assembled a thick file, medical reports documenting the second-degree cigarette burn, nutritional assessments, psychological evaluations, statements from pediatric specialists, even a few short recordings of Vanessa herself admitting to Ethan that Marcus was only disciplining her. Everything was clean. Nothing pointed back to the long nights Ethan had spent rewriting someone else's medical destiny. Vanessa sat across the aisle, one row back. She wore a long coat that seemed to swallow her thin frame, hair pulled low, eyes shadowed. Beside her was a new lawyer, a middle-aged woman with a stern, no-nonsense face. Vanessa never once looked at Ethan. She kept her head bowed, clutching her purse so tightly the leather creaked. The judge, a man in his early 60s with a deep, measured voice, opened the proceeding. "We are here to determine what is in the best interest of the minor child, Lily Caldwell, age 9. The evidence indicates the child suffered significant physical and emotional harm while in the custody of her mother. Mrs. Reed, do you wish to address the court before we proceed?" Vanessa stood slowly. Her voice trembled, but she spoke clearly. I know I failed her. I let my daughter suffer far too long because of my addiction and because I was afraid of losing that man. I'm not making excuses. I love Lily more than anything in this world. But I know I'm not fit to be her mother anymore. I agree to give up my parental rights permanently. I only ask if the court will allow me to see her sometimes, supervised. The courtroom went still. Ethan looked across at Vanessa. For the first time in years, he didn't see the woman who once made his heart race. He saw a mother who had lost everything, and he had played a part in that loss. The old conflict rose again inside him. I saved Lily, but I destroyed Vanessa. Do I have any right to judge her when I've committed my own crimes? The judge nodded, made a note. Richard Harlan rose smoothly. Your Honor, the medical and psychological evidence clearly demonstrates severe neglect. Dr. Caldwell intervened promptly to provide comprehensive care. We respectfully request full, permanent custody be awarded to Mr. Caldwell, with supervised visitation for Mrs. Reed contingent upon her completion of substance abuse treatment and psychological evaluation. No objections. No counter-evidence. The hearing ended faster than anyone expected. The judge's gavel fell with a quiet finality. The court grants the petition. Permanent sole custody is awarded to Ethan Caldwell. Mrs. Vanessa Reed is granted supervised visitation every 2 weeks, subject to compliance with court-ordered substance abuse treatment and psychological monitoring. When the gavel struck, Lily squeezed her father's hand harder than ever. Ethan leaned down and whispered, "You're safe now, sweetheart. Daddy's taking you home." As they left the courtroom, Vanessa stepped forward. She knelt in front of Lily, tears shining in her eyes. "Baby girl, Mommy is so sorry. I wasn't good to you, but I'm going to try, so one day you can be proud of me again." Lily looked at her mother. There was no anger in those big dark eyes, only a quiet, deep sadness. She gave Vanessa a brief hug, then turned and took Ethan's hand again. Vanessa stood, meeting Ethan's gaze for the first time that day. "Thank you for saving her. And I know what you did, but I won't say anything. For Lily." Ethan nodded once, said nothing. He lifted Lily into his arms and carried her out of the courthouse. In the weeks that followed, Ethan and Lily began again. He found a small house in the suburbs, 20 minutes from the hospital. Nothing fancy, but with a little yard and big windows looking out over a park. Lily changed schools, starting 4th grade fresh. She spoke less than she used to, but slowly, the smiles came back. Every night, Ethan sat beside her bed, telling her stories about the miraculous surgeries he had once kept to himself because he thought they might scare her. Lily listened, eyes bright, hanging on every word. But Ethan didn't stop at saving his own daughter. He began to make amends the only way he knew how. He founded a free clinic for abused children. He named it Lily's Hope. It sat on the ground floor of an old medical building in the Southeast District, the same neighborhood where he and Vanessa had once lived together. Using his own savings and donations from colleagues, he turned the space into something warm. Walls painted soft blue and pale gold, small play corners with safe toys, private counseling rooms, and a dedicated exam area for treating wounds with the latest equipment. Lily's Hope opened in March 2026. On the first day, Ethan greeted the patients himself, a 7-year-old boy with a scald burn on his hand from a mother who'd been drinking, a 10-year-old girl beaten for crying, an 8-year-old boy locked in a closet for days. Ethan didn't just treat their bodies. He sat with them, listened to their stories, worked with psychologists to help them face the fear. He hired 3 young doctors and 2 therapists, all starting on volunteer hours. Every case was carefully documented and reported to Child Protective Services to ensure long-term safety. One afternoon, while he was dressing the burn on a little girl named Mia, About Lily's age, same arm, same kind of scar, Mia whispered. Doctor, I'm real scared of my mom. But I still love her. Ethan paused, looked into her eyes. The words cut straight through him. He answered gently, I understand, honey. Sometimes loving someone doesn't mean you have to stay with them forever. The most important thing is that you're safe. And you'll have other people who love you. Me, the folks here, your sister Lily over there. Mia nodded, eyes shining. Ethan finished the bandage, then glanced over at Lily, who was sitting in the corner playing quietly with Mia. Lily looked up at her father, and in her eyes he read the silent message, You're doing something good, Daddy. But late at night, after Lily was asleep, Ethan often sat alone in the clinic office. He would open his laptop, pull up Marcus Holt's old file, the one he had never deleted. Every time he looked at it, the same question returned. I've saved how many children now, but can I ever balance what I did? I saved Lily by making sure one man died. Now I save others. Is this redemption, or just a way to fool myself? He began to change. He cut back on high-risk cases at the big hospital, gave most of his time to Lily's hope. He spoke at conferences on child protection, careful never to reveal the darkness he carried. The clinic grew a reputation. Newspapers started calling him the doctor who heals invisible wounds. But Ethan knew the deepest invisible wound was his own. One rainy afternoon, he brought Lily to the clinic. She ran between rooms, helping the little ones with toys. When she saw her father carefully bandaging a boy's arm, she ran over and whispered, Daddy, I'm proud of you. You saved so many people. Ethan pulled her close, feeling lighter than he had in years. But when she turned away, he caught his reflection in the wall mirror, the face still calm, but the eyes, those eyes had changed forever. He whispered to himself, Lily's hope for her, and maybe, just maybe, the last hope left for me. And he kept working, day after day, saving the innocent ones, the way he had once saved Lily, but this time trying to do it the right way, even though the scar in his heart would never fully heal. June 2026. Soft summer sunlight filtered through the big green leaves in the park near the new little house Ethan and Lily called home. 6 months had slipped by since Marcus Holt's death, since the courtroom took Vanessa's rights away forever, since Lily's hope opened its doors. Ethan's life no longer revolved around marathon surgeries in the cold, bright operating theaters of the big hospital. Most of his days now belonged to the small clinic down in the southeast quarter, where pale blue and warm gold walls wrapped around children who had known too much hurt too soon. Lily had changed in ways that caught him off guard. At 10 years old, she talked more, laughed louder, and filled sketchbooks with bright, fearless pictures. Little houses with windows glowing like lanterns, fathers holding daughters under rain, doctors in white coats surrounded by circles of small hands. Every morning she woke early to help him get ready for the day, arranging toys, wiping down exam tables, learning how to pour warm water just right for the little ones who came in scared. She no longer asked about Marcus, but on nights when Ethan sat alone in the office long after closing, she would pad in quietly, climb onto the chair beside him, and take his hand without a word, as if to remind him, I'm still here, Daddy. I still believe in you. That Saturday was the first in the month with no clinic hours. Ethan decided they would have a real day out. He drove them to a small lake he had known as a boy, a quiet place he used to escape to when his mother was lost in the bottle and his father was already gone. Lily sat in the back seat singing along with the radio, her clear voice filling the car like sunlight. When they arrived, they spread a blanket under an old oak tree. Lily ran barefoot across the damp grass, chasing butterflies, laughing out loud every time a daisy brushed her toes. Ethan watched her from the blanket, a strange mix of peace and ache settling in his chest. He had saved his daughter. He had given her safety. He had built Lily's hope to reach other children who needed rescuing. Yet every night, lying in the dark, he still heard Marcus's last words echo in his head. You're not so different from me. Not a curse, but a question that never quite went away. Who have I become after all this? Late in the afternoon, as the sun began to slant golden across the water, his phone buzzed. Vanessa's number. He hesitated only a moment before answering. Her voice came through softer than he remembered, almost gentle. Ethan, I finished the program. I've got the certificate. I'd like to see Lily. Not to take anything back. Just to see her. Ethan watched Lily crouched by the water's edge, skipping flat stones, making perfect little circles spread across the surface. He answered quietly, You can see her. But it has to be by the court rules. and supervised. A long pause. Then, "I understand. Thank you." And, "I'm sorry. For everything." The call ended. Ethan didn't feel anger or relief, just a deep, tired quiet, the exhaustion of a man who had fought too hard for too long and was finally learning what it might mean to forgive, not only others, but himself. That evening, back home, Lily asked, "Daddy, was that Mommy on the phone? Is she okay now?" Ethan sat beside her, smoothing her hair. "She's getting better. She's trying real hard. Next weekend we'll go see her together, okay? I'll be right there with you." Lily nodded, then wrapped her arms around him tight. "I don't hate Mommy anymore. I just want her to be happy." Ethan held her close, and for the first time in months, tears came quietly. Not from regret, but from the sudden knowledge that his 10-year-old daughter had a bigger heart than he ever would. In the months that followed, Lily's hope grew roots. Grants came in from child protection organizations. Patient numbers doubled. Ethan hired more staff, expanded the counseling rooms, even started art classes where the kids could paint, mold clay, tell their stories without fear of being judged. After school, Lily often came straight to the clinic, becoming the big sister to the younger ones, teaching them games, showing them how to wrap pretend bandages around doll arms, whispering to them, "You're safe now." One late September afternoon, the child welfare officer sent over a special case. Sophie, an 8-year-old girl found curled up in a park after 3 days alone. Her mother, lost to heavy drugs, had left her behind. When Sophie arrived at Lily's Hope, Ethan was the first to see her. She was painfully thin, huge frightened eyes, tangled hair, old purple bruises ringing her left arm, the kind that come from being struck when someone couldn't help it. Ethan knelt to her level, voice soft as a whisper. "Hello, sweetheart. I'm Dr. Ethan. I promise I won't hurt you. You can tell me what happened if you want, or you can just sit quiet. That's okay too." Sophie said nothing for a long time. She hugged her worn teddy bear tighter. Then, barely audible, "Mommy said I was too much trouble. She left me in the park. I waited, but she didn't come back." The words hit Ethan like a blade. They were almost the same ones Lily had once believed. He asked gently, "Does anything hurt right now?" She nodded, slowly pulling up her sleeve. A large, deep purple bruise spread across her arm, edges still swollen. Ethan examined it carefully, noted in the chart, "Mechanical trauma, approximately 7 to 10 days old. No fracture, but monitor for infection." He cleaned and dressed the bruise, then took her to the playroom. Lily was there. The moment she saw the new girl, she ran over. "Hi, I'm Lily. What's your name? Wanna play?" Sophie looked up, eyes softening a little. She whispered, I like hugging my bear." Lily sat right down beside her, handed her a little doll. "You can hug this one too. I'll stay right here with you. Nobody's gonna leave you again." Ethan stood in the doorway and watched. Sophie slowly opened up to Lily, first a small smile when Lily told a silly story, then a bite of cookie when Lily offered one. Over the next visit, Sophie began to talk. About her mother, about the nights of yelling, about being locked in the closet as punishment. Ethan worked with the psychologist, set up small group sessions. Sophie learned to draw her feelings. Early pictures all black and grey, but gradually yellow streaks appeared, then blue, then green. One day she brought him a special drawing, a tall man in a white coat standing between two little girls, one bigger, one smaller. She held it out shyly. "This is you, Dr. Ethan. You saved me and big sister Lily." Ethan took the picture, hands unsteady. He knelt and hugged her gently. "Thank you, Sophie. I'll always be here for you and Lily." When Sophie was placed with a stable foster family, she hugged Ethan hard before she left. "I'll come visit, Doctor. I promise." Ethan watched her go, feeling lighter than he had in years. He knew he couldn't save every child, but every Sophie, every Lily gave him a reason to keep going. Not to erase the past, but to build real hope. One quiet evening, after Lily had gone to bed, Ethan sat in his office looking at Sophie's drawing on the wall. He whispered to the empty room, not to forget, just to keep going. He stood, turned out the light, and walked into Lily's room. She slept peacefully, a small smile on her lips. Ethan lay down beside her, wrapped his arms around his daughter. For the first time in more than a year, he slept without dreams. Outside, the city hummed on, busy and unaware. But in that small house, and inside the warm walls of Lily's hope, a father and a handful of children had found something close to peace. Not perfect, not spotless, but real. And their story went on, one small hope at a time.
This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. See you again.